So I made a video last month about how it looks like exclusives are really dying out as Sony and Xbox shift their focus, basically. So both Xbox and Sony are looking to focus on multi-platform releases going forward, it seems, rather than exclusives. But I said in the video that it would probably take a while before we really saw things go fully in that direction. But I'm thinking now that it might actually be pretty soon. So Xbox's CEO, Phil Spencer, had an interview with Polygon at GDC, where he was emphasizing how he thinks that Xbox should go in a multi-platform route. And so something really interesting that he said is that he was basically saying, and again, he is the Xbox CEO, he was saying that it's probably a good idea to allow other marketplaces on the Xbox. So Phil Spencer says, consider our history as the Windows company. Nobody would blink twice if I said, hey, you're using a PC, you get to decide the type of experience you have by picking where to buy games. There's real value in that. And that is exactly how Windows has operated in the past. I don't use Microsoft Edge, I use Opera GX and Google Chrome. And a big appeal about Windows is that I'm allowed to do that. They don't do anything to get in the way of me doing that. And I think if they did, then people would be looking for alternatives. We'd have more Linux users. And so in a lot of ways, it just makes sense. It's just a good idea. So rather than using just like Xbox Marketplace, you could also use like Epic Game Store or itch.io, Steam, GOG, all those different options, as a possibility. Like, this isn't definitive, but the fact that he's the CEO and he's saying that this is probably a good idea makes it seem like this is probably going to happen. Now, as the CEO of Xbox, he is still underneath Microsoft. So if someone high up at Microsoft is like, no, we're not going to do that, then there's probably not much he could do. But I doubt that's going to happen because generally this does seem to be like the most profitable move for these consoles. Like I said in the other video, consoles themselves are not profitable. Consoles were basically sold at a loss to promote game sales. But if you can get game sales without even having to sell the console for a loss, you're making significantly more money. That's definitely the direction Xbox looking at things, and it seems like Sony is as well now. Though I haven't heard anything from Nintendo about this. They're definitely going to be a holdout in terms of multi-platform games. They always kind of have been. But I do think that the pressure will eventually get to them. If they're the only console left doing console exclusives, then Sony and Microsoft and all of them will probably just be like, we're not going to port our games over to your platform unless you allow your games on our platforms type of deal, which would probably pressure them into doing that, or maybe not, who knows, it's Nintendo. Either way, I think this is very interesting, and it really supports this idea I have that Xbox is probably going to go more in like a PC format. And what I mean by that is maybe not this next generation, but the generation after that is going to effectively be a PC, but Xbox branded. Probably like a PC that comes with an Xbox controller and several Xbox programs pre-installed, but otherwise just a PC, because, why wouldn't it be? The hardware is already really similar. You can already hook up a controller to a PC. We're basically at the point where, yeah, PCs are generally just better. Like, the main difference is unique software and the fact that you get it for an affordable price, but you could do that with basically a PC while adding increased functionality at no real cost. The only issue with that is that you probably couldn't sell that at a loss, because then it would just be in high demand with people who want a computer but not to play video games, to maybe just like do like office work or whatever. And the problem there is that they wouldn't be spending the money to make up for the loss that the computer would be sold for. And I think that once Xbox does this, Sony will be close behind, like probably one generation away. At this point I'm just speculating, but just based on trends and how things are going, these companies make more money off of software, so it makes sense for them to worry more about the software than the hardware. But I think that sounds great, being able to get, so if it was like itch.io, you could get like these free brand new indie games like right away on your Xbox. That would be really cool. Or, later down the line, something like GOG or GOG or whatever you want to call it, where you don't have to worry about DRM. Or just the fact that you could probably share your Steam and Epic libraries on your Xbox. Like, I have so many games on Steam and Epic that have console versions, and if they were shared, then I could probably just go back and forth. Like, maybe I want to play mouse and keyboard for a bit, maybe I want to play with a controller. Maybe I'm sitting at my desk, but then later, I might be on a couch, and want to relax more. It's something that I think is very pro-consumer and happens to profit the companies, So it's a win-win. And so, like, I'm definitely not a business expert, but as far as I understand things, that seems like the move things are going to go. If it's a win-win, it's pretty dumb to not go in that direction. So Spencer adds that Moore's Law has slowed down. The price of components of a console aren't coming down as fast as they have in previous generations. And so to me, that sounds like he really wants to move away from consoles as a whole, or at least in the same way that we've thought about consoles in the past. So like I'm saying, I think the future of consoles is basically going to be pre-built PCs that come loaded with specific software that you could probably buy for other PCs. And so then, you know, rather than buying the next PlayStation or Xbox year after year, you're probably just going to buy like a new program and then some parts to make sure your PC is up to date. You know, I think focusing on controllers would probably be a big win for them, because a big thing about most console gamers is they prefer controllers. You know, I prefer controllers and I play PC and console. But at the same time, with a little bit of extra work, I can use a controller on PC. But, you know, with something like the PS5 controller, you know, a lot of the functionality for the controller can only be used on the PS5. So if I'm using this on my PC, you know, I get the buttons, I get the sticks, I get the triggers, but, you know, I don't get the rumble, I don't get like the adaptive triggers, and I don't get like the touchpads, I don't get to use the sharing button, at least not as a sharing button. I could probably set it to do something, but... And so basically the controller's full potential is only utilized on the PS5, but I think that they could probably sell a program to basically allow the controller's full functionality to be used on PC. I think that would absolutely be something that we see, you know. And so if you're like a console fan, don't worry, it's not going to be like you having to play with your controller at your desk or something, you know. It could literally be the same way as it's always been, you know, like you have your couch and then you have across the room a TV with your console plugged in. It could basically be the same way, but your console has more functionality, you know, because it's effectively a PC. You know, I think that it would be something that would be fully controllable with your controller. Things just might be slightly more expensive because they wouldn't be selling things for a loss anymore. But I don't know, that's just my guess for how things are going to go. I thought this was really interesting. What do you think? Do you think that Xbox is going to get new storefronts, or do you think it won't actually come to fruition? And do you think that consoles are going to become more like PCs in the future? Because that's what I think is going to happen. But before you go, if you enjoyed the video, it would help me a lot if you hit the like button. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
You know, we'd have more Linux users.